Welcome back to Mages and Murderdads, the best show dedicated to the games beyond Baldur's Gate. This is episode 51, and we're playing Planescape Torment. I'm Cameron, and I play the Nameless One.
And I'm Danny, and I play the Nameless One.
The Nameless One. Danny, episode 51, on the road to 100.
The road to bronze.
How do they feel about it? And by they, I mean you.
Yeah, how does Danny and the Nameless One feel about it?
Yeah, how do they feel about it?
It's good to be on the right side of 50, you know?
That's the, is that how you're going to feel when you turn 51?
Yeah,
it's good to be on the right side of 50.
Thank God we're on the right side of 50.
The right side of 50, where all the wealthy people are.
You gotta remember, by the time I turn 51, the Stein administration will have stripped all people over the age of 45 from voting rights, as should rightfully happen.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. That's the reason I voted for.
Look, if you're 46, it's not your state anymore.
Yeah.
It's not your country.
Well, you have no investment in the future at that point. You're just doing, everyone over the age of 45 is definitionally a nihilist.
Yeah.
But that's not really what this is about. This is a show that's about playing through isometric RPGs, and we are, of course, playing through Planescape Torment, which is, in fact, about a person who is old.
Very old, like way over 45.
Way over, in fact, like perhaps thousands of years old.
Mm-hmm.
But still as sprightly as the day that they had their mortality stripped from them. What is the plot so far of this game, Danny?
We are the Nameless One. You play the Nameless One. You wake up in a weird place and you meet a bunch of weird people, and the whole game is about figuring out why is it that you can't remember anything, and you find out that every time you die, you lose your memory, and we just go on all kinds of adventures trying to figure out why it is we can't die. And we've kind of found ourselves in this kind of extra-planar wasteland area trying to get to the bottom of it, and we just like had to break an angel out of prison, and the angel gave us the next little breadcrumb on our little trip and sent us to a demon, and that's kind of where we are now.
It is where we are now, and this might be a little bit of a shorter episode, I think, than some of the previous ones. We're kind of getting, it seems to me, I'm not 100% sure, I didn't look, but it seems to me like we are getting toward the end of the game.
We may well be.
And we are, so we're trying to save that for kind of its own episode. And you have some travel coming up, and I just came off of finally my schedule getting back to normal. So this might be a little bit shorter episode than normal, because we only did a few things here.
That being said, still a lot more to talk about in this episode than the last episode, to be honest. Right?
Yeah, I would say so. I think we'll talk about that kind of as it goes. But yeah, I think this is, you listen to last episode 50, the Big 5-0, you might think that I hate this game. Mm-hmm. And maybe I was just, maybe that was just, I was very busy. I was having a very bad time with the game. Mm-hmm. I really didn't feel like my time was being respected very much.
I mean, do you feel like, because there was like some real, there were some, travails that you had in Siege of Dragonspear.
It's true. And in Throne of All.
There were parts of that in Throne of Ball too, but there, so this series, the show has seen, Kunzelman faced with adversity.
Yeah. Hating the games. And you know what? Honestly, there's going to be a lot more of that. Based on the fact that I've played several of the games that are planned for the future, and they all have parts that I don't like in them as well. But hopefully as we move into the contemporary era, there will be a little bit more of less of the worst feelings and more of the neutral feelings. But all that is to say that there were some truly, like, the Cursed Jail in last episode is perhaps the absolute bottom of the barrel of isometric video games. It is hard for me to pull, because at the very beginning of this episode, I had to kind of run through that area again, and it is hard for me to pull something worse from one of these games that we have played.
Yeah.
Just in general.
Yeah. And so do you want to kind of talk a little bit about, there's been a lot of reaction to on our various forms in which we post this to the way in which I dealt with the cursed jail.
Yeah, so you enabled console commands.
Yes.
And you just click by click. It's very funny to watch. You should watch the video if you're listening to this. You didn't pay quite close attention to Danny just clicking his way through the jail at one point. It is very funny. But yeah, we got some feedback on the YouTube and some feedback on the Reddit and just in general some feedback. This has happened a couple times, especially with the way we finished up Throne of Ball.
Yeah, because both of us had to do that for Throne of Ball, right?
Yeah, we enabled console commands and we clicked things and killed them instead of like tactically having to fight our way through it. And yeah, like I said in response to a comment on the YouTube, at the point where these games become where combat clearly is something that they are expected to have. I mean, I've said this 15 times over the course of the show, but when combat becomes something they're expected to have and not something that it needs, and it is actively detrimental to my ability to enjoy the game, I'm going to do whatever I can to skip that. And that hasn't happened for me yet in Planescape Torment. I played this episode without enabling console commands like I thought I would in the last episode. And based on like the way the Trias fight went, I don't see myself enabling console commands. But yeah, like at the point where the thing that I'm in this for, which is like a neat balance of like interesting mechanical stuff going on and great story, which is really what we're in Planescape's Torment for, right? We're in it for its like good ass story.
Yeah.
At the point where, the game is expecting me to spend 30 minutes just chaining World of Warcraft enemies together and smashing them with a enchanted dagger +2, I'm just not into it. That's not where I'm at,
Yeah, I think I can definitely see. I think it's all about like what your expectations for the channel are as far as like disappointment. And to be honest, had I known that the Hermit like healed you up, I probably wouldn't have enabled console commands because I could have gone back to the Hermit, like been able to rest, use Raise Dead, get my whole party back, and then like go. Because like once you have your whole party, you can like kill those things.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I got to that point and I was like, I can't even rest. And so I just like did it because I needed to like finish it because we need to do the episode.
Yeah.
But I think that if there are certain expectations, like for example, if I followed a show, are you aware of like these little like puzzles, like wooden and metal puzzles that people do on the internet?
Yeah, I know that you're very familiar with them.
Yeah,
you've
so
explained
like
them to me. Yeah, like making puzzle boxes and whatnot.
Puzzle boxes a la like Hellraiser, right? But yeah, the companies make these things, and there's an object to to solving them, and they're oftentimes very difficult, and you have to think outside the box. And if I followed a show, there was like an actual play of someone figuring them out, right, and explaining how they figured it out. And then one episode, they were just like, yeah, I got really frustrated by this, so I just took a hammer and and destroyed it and saw the inside, and then I bought a new one and I like did it after I knew the inside. I guess I would feel in some way like, oh man, that's unfortunate. Like I feel like I'm missing out of the content that I'm really in it for, which is seeing this person deal with it. I do not think that combat in these games is anything like that, or anything like a Rubik's Cube, or you know what I mean? It is it is inflicting lost time.
Yeah, there are fights in Baldur's Gate or parts of those episodes that we spent talking about specifically the way we like solved a fight. I cannot imagine doing that in this game.
Yeah.
But because like that's not where the complexity or interestingness is in it for me.
Yeah,
anyway.
And this is it's just a different game, and we've talked about encounter design before. It's a very different game. Streets of Rage has more encounter design than this game. Like straight up.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So, if you felt that way, if you felt like we gave you short shrift in the in the combat realm and talking.
Not our intention.
Not our intention. It is just like mind-numbingly boring.
Yeah.
And it's in his lost time. It is time that we are spending just literally World of Warcraft clicking our way through these fights. So
that being said, I didn't use any console commands this episode.
And it took you 15 years.
You were waiting a while. Yeah, it did take me, what,
It's okay.
2 hours?
Yeah, it's okay. That's plenty of time. I had stuff to do. But yeah, so after we killed all those people in the cursed jail and let Trias, the angel, free, he gives you a key. The key is like the rusted chain that was around him. And it actually took me a minute of walking around here to figure out where I was supposed to go. But then I found it, and it opens a portal. But if you don't click on the portal, you can kind of walk into the room that the portal is in front of, and there is a giant suit of armor in there.
Yes, this is great.
Did you talk to the suit of armor?
Absolutely. I talked to Valor, and when you talk to him, you can use his name from the beginning, and the dialogue box says, yeah, for some reason, you just know this name. And the backstory, like...
I did not have that. I did not have that.
Whoa.
I did not know Valor.
Maybe it's... I've, like, put every single point. My wisdom is maxed. It is 25.
Okay. Oh, wow. Wow. Okay. Yeah.
No, my character is aware that they're a character in a video game. They're so wise.
Okay. But so you know he's Valor.
Yeah, so I know he's Valor, and it's an animate suit of armor, and I can basically like go back in my memory, and Valor is an entity that seeks justice. Valor is like a justice bringer. He's called Valor the Mercy Killer. And I can go back into a previous life and have this memory of confronting Valor here, below Cursed, in a previous life, before Valor was merely armor, back when Valor was like flesh and blood. And
really?
Yes. And in my memory, my like past self tells Valor, like in a very evil villain type way, yeah, you've bothered me once before. There's not going to be a third time. I have like been here so you would follow me here because you're like innervated by this place of betrayal. What? And I am going to imprison you here.
So you are the person that put Valor here.
Yes.
That makes something that happens to me later make a lot more sense.
So so I get this big flashback that I can like go deep in my memory for. Like, what did you experience?
So I go in and it's like, oh, you see a suit of armor. He is like a chest piece, a helmet, and a weapon. And you can inspect those things and it kind of tells you about them. And it says you can try to take them. And when I tried to take the helm, he like lit up, like a robot. And he started talking to me. He's like, I'm a mercy killer. And he starts kind of explaining that. And he says he's pursuing justice, kind of across the plains. And he says that mercy, I wrote this quote down, mercy is a shield used by the weak. So, so he's all about like Balthazar justice. And, yeah, I was just kind of talking to him some. And you can like do this very annoying thing of like, philosophy 101 logic student, his like position, like real like new atheist, like checkmate, mercy killer. If you want to get pure mercy, what about all the people who committed crimes who died? What are you going to do about them? And he's like, well, I'll die and I'll kill them there. And you're like, well, but if you're dead, won't there be people in the living world who are doing crimes? And he's like, well, I'll be alive and do it too. And then you're like, you can kind of play back and forth. He's like, I think you're trying to be duplicitous and I will not respond to you.
Oh.
So we kind of do that, but then he forgets that I did any of that to him. And he's like, do you believe in justice? And I was like, yeah, I guess I believe in justice. Whatever. Sure. Who cares? And so then he joined my party. Like,
whoa.
I did not, no backstory, none of that additional stuff.
Whoa, so I had an entirely different thing. So he's like, I can judge people. And I have the option. I have the option to be like, well, what about this guy? And I point to Mort. And he'll like give you a spiel about Mort and be like, he's a betrayer. But he has been judged. So like the thing is like, yes, he is a betrayer, but he's already been judged. He doesn't need to be judged again.
I see.
Fall from Grace has a little spat with him about like the place of mercy, and then I asked him to judge. I was like, "Well, what about yourself?" And he's like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Judge yourself. What about you?"
Oh, I had a little bit of this too.
And ultimately, he judged me. And I said, yeah, I've killed somebody. And he's like, well, prepare to meet judgment. And I was like, no, I've already been judged. And he's like, explain.
I'm robot.
I am robot suit. And I said, well, yeah, my mortality was stolen away from me, and I'm like in a real rough way, and I'm covered with scars, and basically the game tells you are a closed book to him. You could tell him anything and he'll believe, and he'll like not be able to falsify you because you are somehow beyond his judgment or like his ability to observe. And ultimately he was like, well, what's up? And I was like, well, ciao, goodbye. You seem creepy and bad. And I probably like locked you away here. At some point in my memory, I was like, I remember that the reason why I put him here is that I thought it might be handy to keep somebody around that could kill me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well. But you
very different experience. Yeah, I left him there.
It is. Well, the payoff is, I think you'll enjoy it. So after we go through the portal, and you go to this, like, you get this, like, cinematic of, like, a big skeleton, right? Mm-hmm. It's kind of flying around. And there's nothing here. Like, it's a big wasteland in the Outlands, of course, like we've been in for the past little while. And it's a big skeleton that's like on its stomach, kind of, with a big head, and there are like big grub-looking, polar bear-looking things.
Yeah, they're just some monsters.
And there's different stuff. Mm-hmm. And I didn't find any of this. I just ran around until I found like a door in the skull of the big thing. You know, I went in there. Did you find any of these things?
Some may have incidentally died, but as I started fighting them, I was immediately like, well, let's run and see what the thing is here. Mm-hmm. So I ran and I found the thing.
Well, we found Fuel Forktongue in there.
Yeah, this is who Trius, voiced by the beloved John Delancey. This is who... This was the next...
beloved John Delancey.
Yeah, the well-known, very famous...
Known by some John Delancey.
Who he like referred us to. Mm-hmm. And we get here and we get like this completely different side of Trius from Fuel Forktongue.
Mm-hmm. Fuel Forktongue is one of my favorite characters in the game so far.
This is one of my favorite characters in Mages and Murderdads so far.
Oh, I mean, yeah, he's pretty good.
He's real good.
He's just kind of conceptual. Anyway, sorry to interrupt. Anyway, so yeah, we get a different side of Trius.
Yeah, no, and I'm setting you up. So tell us, what's the deal? What is the relationship between Trius and Fuel?
So Fuel immediately calls Trius not the angel or the Deva that, you know, we've heard the Deva a million times, right? And that's how most people talked about him until I think we even met him. I don't think we had a name necessarily for a while. And he calls him immediately Trius the Betrayer.
The Betrayer.
Which means he's in the Cursed jail because everyone in Cursed is a betrayer. Mm-hmm. I mean, he might have gotten betrayed, but he's a betrayer. Yeah. So, like, there's like, this doesn't really pay off in this section. It doesn't pay off for a few minutes. But really, like, as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, shit, this dude did something rude to us. Mm-hmm, what are we doing? But anyway, so we find out that Fuel Forktongue is a Balor. Which is like a demon. Mm-hmm. No, a devil. Sorry, I need to be clear. A devil.
Very lawful.
He is lawful evil. And we know he is lawful evil because his whole deal, you know, like devils do in kind of real world fiction.
Faustian.
Faustian bargains, like up and down, right? So he's like, oh, but, you know, back in the day, I was one of Bator's, best... contract makers. He has a very specific term that I don't remember what it was, but, you know, he was like, I was one of the best people for getting mortals just bound up in contracts. And the reason I wanted to get them bound up in contracts is that it decreases the amount of chaos in the world. Mm-hmm. that like the reason you would be a devil, the reason that like the devil ethic is useful, is that ultimately it kind of reduces the world into a very predictable clockwork-like experience.
Yeah, because when everybody is bound by a contract, there's less, there's more predictability.
Yes. So very like Asmodeus. I know we like I read a bit about like Asmodeus a few episodes ago, but very much in that thing. And he's just kind of talking about it. But what happened to Fuel is that Trius the Betrayer got him to sign a contract, tricked him into a contract, into being good. So he can't trick other people into getting, he can't do his devil stuff anymore, because doing devil stuff is bad. And he can't be bad, or it's evil, actually.
And he was just so surprised because he thought that Trius was incapable of lying.
Yes, he thought Trius was like incapable of evil because he is a deva. He is good. But nope, he could do it. So yeah, he just helps us. Like he is on our
begrudgingly so. It's really funny, the dialogue, right? Because everything is very begrudging, and like he can't. It's almost like liar, liar.
Yes, it's basically just liar, liar with a devil, right? Like he can't even. Like it's painful for him to even think bad thoughts. And so, like, there's a lot of dialogue where he's like, "Oh, Trius, that jackass, or that person." There's a lot of that kind of stuff, which is good. But yeah, he just tells us that. I mean, I'm glad this character is in the game, but it's just a breadcrumb, right? It's just yet another little piece of the trail. Because he says, "Listen, in order to find your mortality, you are going to have to go to a place called the Fortress of Regrets." But he doesn't know where that is.
And the only person that does is Trius.
No.
Oh, that's right. My bad.
Not yet.
Not yet. Yeah, the only way we can figure that out is by asking this entity called the Pillar of Skulls.
Yes.
And that entity is in Bator, which is like we're just going from bad to worse here. It's a real precipitous drop from like Cursed and the Outlands, and now we're going just straight up hell, basically.
Yeah, Bator is like a middle layer of hell. Like it's not all the way in the deepest parts of hell, but it's not at the top either.
It's solid hell.
It's you're not going to be, if you're in there, you're not going to be like, "Oh, am I in hell? Am I not in hell?" I could, oh, is this, which street? Is it 8th Street that it turns into hell? You're not going to have any of that, right? You're in hell.
In a D&D context, this is like a full, like, power gaming party of, like, in the mid-20s.
Yes.
Rolling around in here.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there.
Planar heroes.
Yeah.
And he says, to get there, just go right out my door here. Under the left arm of this giant skeleton, you can find a portal. It's going to take you right there. Find the Pillar of Skulls. And so we do that without finding any enemies. And then we go to Bator, and we get like a nice, panorama of like straight up classic hell. It's very much WoW Orc starting zone red. Not a lot of fire, nothing like that, but just like terrible stone and horror and pain.
Yeah, it's a real bad place.
It does seem to be a bad place, and the game actually lets you gives you a full screen of just wandering around, kind of, before we find the Pillar of Skulls.
Yeah, there is like a maiden getting attacked in like one of these corners, and if you go to save her, she's a devil.
Never save a maiden in hell. What's she doing down there?
Yeah,
she can be up to no good. So, tell me about the Pillar of Skulls. It's very literal.
It's very good. So you go up to the Pillar of Skulls, and it is like it's described as this pulsating mass of skulls. Sometimes skulls like float to the top, and other skulls get like pushed down into the middle of it. And when you go up to it and you're like about to interrupt it, Mort's like, don't do this. And you're like, well, what's the deal, Mort? And Mort's like, if you're going to talk to this thing, I need to be like around the corner or something. And so I demand the truth from Mort.
Yeah, same.
and Mort tells me, well, you know, basically you gotta like you have to like betray someone and then get them killed. And if that happens, if you do that, your fate is ending up in this pillar of skulls.
Yeah, Fuel specifically says it is a pillar of betrayers.
Yeah, but it is the worst kind of betrayer.
Yeah.
It is like betrayers like to the death. Not like when Cindy like stole your favorite Power Ranger pencil and then like gave it to Charles.
Deep-seated issues for Danny.
Yeah.
Never got over
but
it.
Anyway,
send your things in. I don't have the P.O. box yet. That would be so good.
I know.
Next episode.
So it turns out Mort did that to you, and he can like remember maybe once, maybe twice. I don't know. And you ask him, well, why didn't you tell me this? And he's like, hey, you don't know which like type of you is going to come out, you know, at the mortuary. Sometimes you come out and you're just absolutely insane. Sometimes you come out and you start chasing me around because you think I'm your skull, right? And and this is what's really fun. There's some real architect shit from Matrix Revolutions here. When he's like, this is you've only made it this far like 3 or 4 times.
Yes. Yeah.
Isn't that good?
And even better, he explains that when like he was a skull in this pillar at one point, and that you pulled him out.
Yes, you pulled him out because Mort promised that he would share the wisdom of the pillar, but the second he was like his connection with the pillar was severed, he lost all the knowledge that the pillar has.
Yeah, so you have no idea how many times you came here before that happened too, right?
That's true. Yeah, Mort only knows about the first time, which is when he was extracted from the pillar, and the subsequent times, yeah, it's a big question mark how many times you came to that pillar before then.
Yeah. But yeah, and which is bizarre, or not bizarre, but like, how many times have we made it through Ravel? Or have we skipped Ravel? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like how many does the route always make its way through the Pillar of Skulls? And like Fuel, like because you can ask Fuel if he knows you or remembers you, and he is not certain he doesn't know you.
He's not certain. There is a cinematic the last time you leave Fuel. As you leave his house, there's like a in-game scripted event where the player is not in control, I think is our definition we used last time.
Yeah.
Where Fuel was like, that fella, something like that. Do you remember that?
Yeah, it's like he looks familiar or something like that. Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, so anyway, so you can ask this pillar questions. And every time you ask a question, the pillar demands things.
Oh, let's say really quickly, though.
Yeah.
So you got the truth from Mort, and you have the option of like going and dropping Mort off somewhere.
Yeah.
Or just going and talking to the pillar. I just went ahead and talked to the pillar.
I dropped him off around the corner.
Really?
Yeah, I just like made him go away down to the bottom of the zone, and you could talk, and
That's interesting. Okay, well, anyway, so you talked to the pillar.
Yeah, I talked to the pillar, and you can ask a few questions. You can ask, hey, where's the Fortress of Regret? You can ask, who am I? Those are the 2 questions I ask. There are a few other questions.
Yeah, you can ask, who killed me? Something else, another big one too, but anyway.
So the first question, or the first thing, it wants to know where Fuel is. And I lie and say that Fuel's in like a like pocket plane.
Made by a sorcerer.
Yeah, like, it's impossible to get to. Don't worry about it. So I lie about that, and I have a very high charisma, so I'm not worried about that. And I ask, hey, how do you get to the Fortress of Regret? And the Fortress of Regret, we don't know where the portal is, but we do know that the key is like a memory of regret that you hold within you. And we know that Trius knows the location of that portal. Now, another question I asked is, well, who am I?
Well, hold on, but the important part about that is that like, the pillar is revealing to us that Trius has betrayed us.
Yeah.
At this point, that when Trius said, I don't know where your mortality is,
Liar.
better go ask Fuel, he just lied.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's like a big, like, oh, shit. Mm-hmm. He got us, too.
Yeah.
He's not just, like, screwing over devils, he's screwing over us, and, like,
Well,
why
that's
would
the
that
thing.
happen?
I knew that Trius was going to be huge with the player character. Do you know how I fucking knew that?
Because of
Because it's voiced by
inconsequential-
the famous voice actor and television star John Delancey.
damn it. All right. Well,
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah. So third, who am I?
Yeah, who am I? You get a big spiel about like who you are. This is the really important thing. There's a bunch of like names you go by. Mm-hmm. Every time you die, instead of you dying, somebody else dies. Mm-hmm. And it creates a shadow. And those are the shadows that were chasing us, is all like these shadows that are like split off from us every time we die and cause someone else to die.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're like a soul vacuum
Exactly.
that's ripping people off up and down the planes.
Yeah, you are a bad deal for everybody.
Yes, yeah, by like fiddling with the mortal immortality system. Mm-hmm. You have goofed everyone.
Oh, you've goofed people so hard.
And I want you to keep this in your head too. This like core conceit is what fuels Tides of Numenera. And I want you to, like, that's not a secret. We start from there in Tides of Numenera. But I want you to, like, think about that when you start that game. Like, the revelation of this versus how that game starts.
Interesting. Okay.
But yeah, well, it's interesting because for each of these, like, what did he want from you? Because every time, or it, I guess, every time you ask it a question, it demands payment.
So the first thing was the information about Fuel. Mm-hmm. The second thing is it just wants Fall from Grace. Like, just shove her in here. Mm-hmm. Shove her in this pillar and we'll eat her blood. Mm-hmm. And I say, nah, that doesn't seem like a good idea. And every time you turn it down, they'll provide you an offer. Oh, well, how about, I think her name's Tana? The rogue.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. How about her? And you're like, nah.
Yeah.
And then they're like, well, how about 15 of your permanent hit points, your maximum hit points?
Yep.
How about you? And you can just like, it'll suck you up and take some of your hit points.
Yep. So I approached it with Mort and in my party. And so I had this whole dialogue of it like really, really wanting Mort back. Mm-hmm. And so its first request every time is like, give me that skull. I want my skull
Give me
back.
that skull.
Give
That's
me that
me.
skull.
That's mine.
I know. It's like my pinky toe. I need it back. And I never gave him more. And then it kind of went through some of the other party members too. And so I ended up for questions. I gave up 30 of my hit points.
Ooh.
Which means I have 29 hit points now.
Really?
Which is not a lot.
You're strong.
Yeah. And so I did that. Pretty cool. So did you see Farad's skull come out?
Yes, Farad came out and was like, oh, and mean mugs you.
Well, he doesn't mean mug. He like talks to his daughter. This is the only like non-mean mugging event in the game. He comes out and he talks to his daughter, and that sphere that you went to get for him in his like fetch quest, he thought that was going to protect him from the shadows.
Yeah, it did not. Nope. It's really interesting. So you have the opportunity to comfort Tana, but I just remain silent because I'm like, that's her business, her relationship with her father. That's weird shit,
I also remain silent. I thought about backing her up, and I was like, well, I actually don't know how she feels about it, so maybe I'll just let her deal.
Fall from Grace tries to comfort her, and then she like spits and is like, nah, it's cool. Yeah.
So I had Valor in my party, and when I asked who am I, and just got the general kind of spiel about who you are and all this kind of stuff, Valor recognized me, and he was like, it's you. I've been hunted. You are the person I have like been trying to kill for millennia or however long.
My lord.
And then he goes, so middle of the conversation, he aggroes, and I have to fight him. And I have to, it's just like a little fight I have to do. I have to murder him. And then I talk to the skulls again, and we just keep having our conversation.
Shortest lived party member ever.
Yeah, so I was like, yes, I finally get another party member. It's going to make the game a little bit easier. No.
This is great. That's good. That's great.
It is good. Yeah.
Because, like, Baldur's Gate 1 has situations where party members will aggro. Generally, it's like when you make really big alignment decisions, and, like, if they're good and you do, like, an evil thing.
Well, they tend to just leave, though. They won't attack you.
Generally, they'll leave, but there are specific events in question, and there are also, there's also, like... leaving is more common, but sometimes it'll just be like two characters that like are having an argument and they may aggro each other or something.
Yeah, I know. Oh, yeah, maybe pre-patchy stuff like Khalid and Jaheira and the two guys you can get at the very beginning.
Zar and Montaran.
Yeah, Zar and Montaran. But anyway, so he does that. And, but yeah, so we talked to this big pillar and all this stuff. And as I'm leaving... I'm like, all right, thanks for all that info. Peace out, y'all. And the and it says, no, listen, I've been very polite so far, but I need that skull. I'm gonna need that back. That's very important for me. And I was like, well, look, I've given you so many hit points. I'm not giving you the skull, right? Like, I had the opportunity to do that for a benefit several times. I didn't do it, so no. And then it literally like sets off a klaxon alarm.
Whoa.
Yeah. And it's like a bunch of screaming and yelling. And it's like, intruders, intruders. And right before this had happened, of course, it had told me how to leave this place, which is like go to like some part of the map and like put obsidian in your mouth and it cuts your tongue and then the portal will appear.
Yeah.
So, yeah, when I leave the screen, it is chock full of demons. Like, chock full. Lots of demons. And I cannot find the portal to save my life, so I'm just running around wildly. So much I have to, like, reload the game from leaving that screen to, like, try again. But I eventually found it.
Yeah. Well, you're really loyal to your little skull buddy.
Yeah. I need him to soak up
also,
some of
you
that
just straight up
PS.
need him to win because your last party member left because you recognized who you were. Oh, that payoff's great, and you didn't even fully appreciate like how bad.
Exactly. That's kind of why it's really good, right? I'm glad we're having the conversation, right? Because like I was just like, oh, this dude's an asshole. Like I don't even know why he's mad at me. But now having all that information, I'm like, oh, that was just some like in his brain stuff that I did not have access to.
Yeah.
Which is pretty good. But so then we go through that portal and we end up back in Fuel's little outland zone. And I went and talked to Fuel and I was like, how do I get back to Cursed? And he was like, well, under the skeleton's anus or butt. He says something very weird.
Yeah, he says it rude. He's like, very appropriate for you in particular. You need to go behind, like, its backside.
Go in the butt. Go to the butt zone. So we go there, and when we get back to Cursed, it is not even labeled Cursed anymore. It is labeled Cursed Gone.
Would you think this was just a holdover from, like, a code name?
Yeah, it's just like, there's normal Cursed and then Cursed Gone. We'll rename it later. Yeah, Trias blew up this town.
Yes.
And he caused so much chaos. We find this out from, if you remember, there was the gate to Karkari in the city. And when we walk up toward it, there are like skulls attached to it that just start talking to us. And they're like, yeah, Trias blew out of that hole in the ground and started just kicking ass up and down the street. And he kicked so much ass that this town literally slid into Karkari, the first plane of hell.
Yeah.
First circle of hell.
Basically, when you're in the Outlands and you are a city-state, you've got to be really careful about your policy and your social programs, because depending on what you're doing, your town itself may like start slip-sliding around the Outlands, heading for the upper or lower planes.
Well, that is why, I mean, it makes a whole lot of sense, right? Why that innkeeper was so concerned about devils taking over his inn.
Yeah.
Because his inn could just end up in Karkari. So yeah, so like shit's going wild in Curse.
There's some. It's going down. It is certainly going down.
Well, explain what that means.
So, the first people I run into are like 2 people caught under a damn wagon.
Yes.
And I gotta like save one of them. And one of them's like, I'm just a regular guy. You should probably save the mayor. And the mayor's like, yes, you should save me. You do not save the other person. He is useless. Save. And the other guy's like, well, I mean, hopefully you could save us both, but yeah.
If you can't, the mayor.
You can't, yeah, you definitely need to save the mayor. So I saved the mayor.
Did the other guy die?
Yeah. As I lifted the wagon up, I squished the other guy like it was a seesaw situation.
The other guy is an angel. He is literally from like Mount Celestia.
Oh no.
So yeah, there's an option where it's like, well, I think we could probably just lift, all my buddies can come around and we can all lift this wagon together. So they like come together.
So
like,
yeah, I think I looked it up on sorcerers.net, and you have to have 2 characters with an intelligence of 13 or above.
Oh, well, we have all the same characters.
But my intelligence is nothing.
Oh, yeah, I have intelligence, wisdom, and charisma all the way up. So we all got around and we lifted it up and we saved everybody. And yeah, the one guy's like, "Damn, shit's bad here. I'm gonna go back to Mount Celestia and tell him what's up." And he just walks off. I had the gosh, what was it? Like the junkyard keeper. Mm-hmm. I had him approach me and like give me some stuff, because I helped him out before. But yeah, like, demons are invading. Like, demons are killing everyone in this town.
Demons are killing everybody in this town. There are people looting. There's, like, real, like, kangaroo courts sprouting up all around the city. It's bad.
It's just the Dark Knight Rises. Mm-hmm. That whole thing with the Scarecrow.
Yes.
And I don't remember who told me this, but like the conceit is that Trius is here and he is like using this chaos to gain power, and he's going to use this gain power and his like maybe some control over the demon army in order to like mount an assault, not against demons, but he's going to use the devil army in order to mount an assault against Mount Celestia, against heaven.
Yeah, you can solicit all this information when you confront Trius.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's where I got all that info.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, there's a cool mechanic here of like if you go around the town, you can stop chaotic things from happening, which makes Trius weaker in the fight.
Yes. So there are like several little quests you can do, and they're basically like, so for example, the wagon, no matter what you do, that's a good deed. Mm-hmm. And then as you do these quests, if you can like convince people to do the right thing, you accumulate good deeds, and supposedly that makes the fight easier. What kind of good things did you do?
So I did. There were some people who were going to loot a warehouse, and I rolled up to them and said, "Hey, look, that's just like." You're going to be killed by demons as soon as you do that. You need to like go defend the wall. And they were like, you know what? You're a smart guy. I'll do that. And they did that. And then the brewer was like getting beat up, and I went and helped him out. And you can rest there. So that was very helpful for me. But those are the only 2 I did.
It's interesting because there are 2 others. The warehouse that was going to be looted, if you go in there are a bunch of anarchists in there. Mm-hmm. And you talk to them, and they're like, "This is fucking awesome. We're finally burning it all down."
Uh-huh.
And
smash the state.
Yeah, we're smashing the state. And I'm like, "Well, look, there's not going to be anything left to rebuild, right?" And he's like, "No, that's the thing. You got to get rid of everything before you start over." And I'm saying, "No, you're not going to be able to start over. There's not going to be a foundation of any kind to
there will be demons here.
Yeah,
they're going to eat you."
And it's interesting, there's one other one where there's like a impromptu mass hanging on the west side of town.
Uh-oh.
And in both of these situations, and including the looting, there are 2 ways you can convince people not to go forward with what they're planning. Uh-huh. You can say, look, it's not in your best interest to do this, because if you do this, this is going to slide into further into hell, right? Or you can say, this is wrong. Like, what you're doing is wrong. And all of this wrongness is what's sending us to hell. So it's the same thing, but it's just appealing to different authorities. One is their self-interest, and the other is, no, it's just wrong. I never say the latter. I always appeal to people's self-interest.
Yeah. Same.
And it works.
It's a town of betrayers.
Yeah. Exactly. I'm thinking of my audience as I give this stuff. So I convince all those people, and then I go confront Trius in the magistrate's building.
Well, what's that like?
You get an info dump on like what Trius is up to, and basically, you know, that blood war that we've talked at length about, the war between the devils and the demons.
I do.
So Trius is sick and tired of it. It's caused like a bunch of innocent people to die, like all the people in No Man's Land. All of these, like, you know, devils are working overtime to get contracts for people so that they like fight in the blood war, right?
Yep.
So it's like a bad thing. And basically, up until this point, the upper planes have like, you know, the angels and the devas have kind of looked at each other and be like, let them work it out. They're not, you know, they're all bad, so let them kill each other.
Yes.
And Trius thinks that's bullshit. Trius thinks that the upper planes have a duty to stop this war that's causing so many innocent people to die. So Trius has decided he is going to raise an army and somehow get fiends or devils to invade the upper planes, so the upper planes can no longer stay out of it. So that the upper planes like enter the fray and wipe up this problem.
So, you know, I've read from Mordenkainen's Tomb of Foes, and I don't have it right on hand, so I can't like give you the name of this character. But there is a character canonically now in D&D who is just Trius, it is a woman angel, but it's the same basic idea. She was an observer from like Mount Celestia, and she had been observing the war in the space between, you know, the demons and the devils for like millennia, and she was finally like, this is so inefficient. I'm going to become a devil. Like, she basically becomes lawful evil, right? She's like, I'm going to marshal this into shape so we can then like solve this stuff out. So if you want to have a character like this, a Trius type character in your D&D campaign, there is one.
Yeah. It's a point in the conversation where you can just straight up say, Trius, you're a betrayer. And Trius is like, well, when you call me, look, you have a very limited understanding of the word betrayal. And even though you've lived perhaps thousands of years, you're still a few centuries shy of like fully understanding all the delicious varieties of betrayal. So agree to disagree. I don't think this is a betrayal. And you can like just keep pressing him and be like, no, you're a betrayer, and eventually you just come to blows.
Like, it's like a straight up like forums argument. You're like, well, the OED says dictionary.com says betrayal definition 2, and he's like, I don't believe in dictionary.com. It's not a published dictionary.
When I made this decision, the dictionary didn't exist, and we were all still speaking like abyssal and celestial, so no, invalid.
I didn't even really have that many options. It was just like, Trius, I'm going to kick your ass. Trius, do I need to kick your ass? Like, those are my two. I didn't feel like I had a whole lot of options when I did it. But you have a good old fashioned boss fight. I didn't.
And the last dialogue option is bring it on.
Yeah. Yeah. This is made in the 90s.
Yes.
But I didn't find this fight. This fight also took me like 7 or 8 like run backs to get through. So it was long, but I didn't find it as frustrating as the Ravel fight. Partially because Trius does some like straight up Final Fantasy VII shit. There is a spell he casts where the screen like zooms up into the sky for like 5 screen lengths, and there's like clouds everywhere, and they start rumbling and flashing, and then a giant like god beam comes down, and we like follow it very fast, and it smashes into the ground like Bahamut is like lasering the earth from the sky. And I survived that, so it was pretty cool. He does several of those.
When we met Fuel, you can ask him for things. You can ask him for aid.
Yes,
and
I did that.
When you ask him for aid, you can get like all of these little spell scrolls, like single-use spells. So the first time I fought Trius, I just used all of them, and they are all like that. There's one where it zooms up, and there's just a fucking meteor floating in around the Earth, and then it like picks up steam and like slowly starts coming down. They're great. I am so disappointed that Baldur's Gate did not keep this.
Yeah.
It's a real, it's a loss for the lineage to like that this is gone, that this did exist and was in this game, and it isn't anymore. Like, I don't know why. Like, especially if it's limited casts, you know, have some fun.
Yeah, you would think this would be in Baldur's Gate 2, somewhere in. I wonder if it's something, because they are forked on the Infinity Engine. I don't think that the Planescape Torment is like a straight up Infinity Engine game. And so it could be that just like whatever the engine forks that they made that incompatible. I mean, I guess well, no, because can you pause while the animations are playing?
You know, I didn't even try. I was utterly bewitched.
It might interact weird with the pause and play system. That's the only thing I can think. But yeah, they are very cool. I also had a spell scroll that I used that literally opened up a gate to hell underneath him, and hands came out and grabbed him and then drug him in it, and then like some screams happened and then opened up again and shot him back out. And he took like 50 damage or something.
But yeah, I did all of that, and after I did all of that, it said he was barely injured. So I like used all the scrolls, and then I used Litany of Curses with Mort on him, and he just like, the second you use Litany of Curses, he just like beelines for Mort. It's like the ultimate taunt, right?
It's just an aggro grabbing. Yeah.
And there's no way to like lose aggro. And at that point, he's just chasing Mort around, and I just click Mort around, and he stops casting spells. He has to hit Mort. And my party just like killed him as he chased Mort around, and I like kited him around.
Yeah, I did the exact same thing.
Oh, really?
I had kind of like a line of enemies or of my party members kind of in a row where he couldn't get around them. And I just kind of clicked Mort up and down that line. So halfway up, he would like path up and back down. I have far fewer members than you do. So as I wrote in the notes, I did some of the sickest micro in human history. I was just like straight up StarCraft 2, like clicking a million times, getting Mort going around in little circles. But it worked out. We killed him, and this jackass says, first he says, you have to promise, I'll give you the information you want if you promise not to kill me. And I said, okay, whatever. And then he explains that the portal to the fortress of what's it
Regret.
called? Regret. The fortress of Regret is in the mortuary.
Yes.
Where we began the game.
If only we knew.
If only we'd known and had a little bit of regret. And you know what? But the game is about the journey, not about the destination. And so I didn't kill him. I let him go, actually.
Yeah, I told him, hey, just let me know what's going on, and sure, I'll let you go. And he told me that, and then after he told me that, I was like, well, I'm going to kill you now. And he said, well, hold on, you swore that you wouldn't. And I said, I didn't swear, I just said I wouldn't, and now I've changed my mind.
Get betrayed, bro.
And then he was like, oh, the irony. And then he literally died from irony. I didn't even have to hit him.
Wow.
No, well, I smashed his face in.
Yelled hashtag hoisted.
With his dying breath, he was like, you really messed up, bro.
Cursed, bro.
Yeah.
And then there's like some... what's the spaghetti and meatballs movie where it's raining spaghetti and meatballs?
Rainy with a chance of meatballs.
Cloudy with a chance of meatballs.
There you
Is that
go.
right? Hold on,
Yeah.
I'm going to confirm my wife. Is it cloudy with a chance of meatballs? She's nodding her head yes. Mm-hmm. This is like cloudy with a chance of meatballs.
Yeah.
Because a giant sky egg appears in a cutscene, and then the entire city of Cursed falls out of it.
Just is pooped out.
Is pooped out onto the ground. Very comically. Like you would dump out, like perhaps you're about to play Monopoly and you got to get all those little houses out of a bag.
Some of it comes out and it's like crooked or knocked over.
Yeah. And it's just beefed right onto the Outlands. And so I guess it's reestablished, and then we're back in Sigil.
Yeah.
We're back in the Hive.
What a trip.
Yeah, so, and we're right in the Hive, and we're right in that, like, the place where you carve a name once people die.
Right outside the mortuary.
Right outside the mortuary. So I think we're probably finishing the game next episode.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
This went too fast. This has been really fun. There's only been one episode, and I think it's episode 50. But I think there's only been one episode where like I haven't had like something really happen in the lore, right?
Yeah, we'll save some big thoughts for our like inevitable wrap up episode. But yeah, I think that there is a way that the high watermarks of this game operate to trick you into forgetting the low watermarks of this game, and I think that is a very interesting. But because people talk about this as the one of the best narrative or the best narrative games of all time, and I don't know how I feel about that, and I'm not even saying that as like a tune in next time to find out, but literally I don't know how I feel about that designation.
Yeah.
So hopefully the next few weeks I'll have some better opinions. But I said at the beginning of the episode this was going to be a shorter episode, and I was wrong.
Well, sometimes we lie to you, but you keep coming back. So
damn. I like to think of it more as a betrayal.
Oh, callback. That's the classic callback.
Pew, pew. You can find us on Twitter at twitter.com/rangetouch. You can find both of our personal Twitters through that. You can go to rangetouch.com to see this show, get an RSS feed for it. If you're watching on YouTube, you can find the podcast link there if you want to get it on iTunes, and you can just straight up get it on iTunes in the Google Play Store, Google Music Store, or whatever it's called. Mages and Murderdads is on both of those. You can go to our Patreon, which is down in the description. If you like the show, please consider supporting us for $1 or more, $5. We do another podcast at the $5 tier that people tend to like. It's just about whatever we're doing this month. I think people enjoy that content. And you can also listen to me and Michael Lutz in Game Studies Study Buddies, which is our monthly podcast where we read an academic book of game studies and then try to make it accessible for people who did not spend an inordinate amount of time getting an advanced degree.
Thank the Lord.
Yep. Thankfully.
If you don't like this podcast, let people know how much you hate it, and just share it all over the internet. Like, really, because ultimately, how will people know that you don't like it if you don't link it? Mm-hmm. Think about it. Like, your opinion matters.
Yeah.
If you hate it when we use console commands, please like this video. Please retweet it and give us some positive reinforcement for not doing it this episode.
Yeah. No one used a single console command. And if you do like the show, please spread it around. We don't spend any money on advertising. We are word of mouth only. If you enjoy the show, just, maybe send it to your friends who also either enjoy classic RPGs or isometric games, or even contemporary ones, because the next game that we're going to be doing after this game is over is Torment Tides of Numenera, which came out just a couple years ago, kind of the spiritual sequel to this game. So we are jumping forward 20 years in the future.
Yeah, this will be, it's going to be a wild ride. The next little bit here, but I think that's going to be it.
And, well, our last thing, if you really enjoy this and you want to come talk about it or talk with us or enjoy the kind of games that we enjoy playing in our free time, you can come to our Discord, and the link is down in the description below.
It's a wide variety of place. We've got a solid, just all the time, 50 people just chatting it up, and like a total of 150 total members,
something like that. It has grown quite a bit. It's a good, nice, positive community.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much, and hope to see you next time.
Yeah, we'll be back in 2 weeks.
All right. Ciao.